So as Lauren said, my name is Rosie Lang. I'm a junior here at UNL, and I'm a human development and family science major. And it's kind of funny being asked to speak for the Newman Center because my senior year of high school, I didn't quite know where I wanted to go to college, and it happened to be in the chapel at the Newman Center during a retreat that my high school was holding that I just felt this overwhelming sense of peace and certainty that UNL was where I was supposed to attend for college. And if I'm being honest, the Newman Center was the sole reason that I decided to come here. And since my freshman year, it's definitely been a wild ride. From the very first days of college, I was very disheartened when I stepped on the campus, and I started to observe what the world tells us is the ideal college life. And I knew right away that deep in my heart, that was not the experience that I desired. It was not what I was called to. It was not what my peers were called to. And so, while I knew this, I also was telling myself this story that if I chose to live a moral life in college, that it was also going to leave me very lonely and living in isolation away from my peers. I assumed that anyone that was living a college life was not also living a Catholic life, and anyone who chose to live a Catholic life was having to live like they were 15 years older than they actually were. So I tried to live what I assumed to be the Catholic life and everything that entailed in college. And the loneliness of totally rejecting the stage of life that I was in eventually became too much. I wanted to live freely, and I wanted to have shared experiences with my peers. And so I decided I would figure out a way to live both a Catholic life and a college life at the same time. And I hoped that by going to parties, I would meet people that would fix this restlessness and this confusion that I was feeling in my heart. And yes, I met people. I met a lot of people. But my hopes of sharing experiences with them weren't possible since I was the only one that ended up remembering those experiences. And yes, I was free, but I happened to be the only one there that was. And so after that failed attempt at reconciling the Catholic life and the college life, I began to really wrestle with the line in John 10:10 when Jesus tells us, "I came so that you might have life and have it more abundantly." Continuously, I would ask the Lord, what does it mean to live an abundant life? And if you promised this to us, why haven't I experienced it? Where am I supposed to find this in college? So to be honest, I'm still asking this question on a daily basis. But over the last few years, the Lord has transformed my heart and my life in so many different ways due to the ways that He's responded to this questioning that I've done. In fact, my questioning has reached a point where I actually put an Instagram poll out the other day asking people, okay, what do you think an abundant life is? And, which is also funny because I'm not social media savvy whatsoever, so it took a lot to figure out how to do that. But I wanted to ask people what they thought an abundant life was, and the thing that ended up being so beautiful about it was that there were so many different people from so many different backgrounds that responded, yet the answers boiled down to all be very similar, whether the person was religious or not. And many of the responses happened to align with things that over the last 2 years I've experienced and that I've prayed about and the Lord has shown me. And so yeah, I have realized, and the many people that responded to my question, that abundant life is joy and sorrow. Abundant life is living in community, and abundant life is one that includes the sacraments. And probably the thing that I've realized the most is abundant life, it requires us to live in the present moment, exactly where God has placed us. Abundant life doesn't mean that you won't experience sorrow in your life. And in fact, it's actually in a season of great sorrow that I think the Lord answered my questioning most particularly. This last spring, as Lauren mentioned, I was blessed to go on a mission trip with 35 other students from UNL through Focus to Mexico City. And I was going through a time, I had just recently gone through a breakup and was experiencing a big crisis of faith. And so by the time the mission trip rolled around, it was the very last thing I wanted to do. I did not want to go jump on a plane to another country. I did not want to go pray for a week. And I did not want to go walk in the steps of Our Lady in Juan Diego. It just sounded really difficult. And I did end up going on the mission trip. praise God. And yeah, it was incredible the moment that I stepped into that basilica and laid eyes on Our Lady of Guadalupe, and she was just peering down at me. And it was just so clear that the Lord met me there and placed me there in that moment so intentionally at that point in my life. That trip was the most beautiful blend of sorrow and joy, and because those two go hand in hand, the Lord sat with me through all of it during that trip. He wanted me to experience all of life, all of the joys, and all of the sorrows as fully as possible. Abundant life is also community. I realized that because the desire for abundant life is so innately part of us and written on our hearts as humans, that everyone around me is also searching for it. And because of this, I've been able to find other young Catholics that have, just like me, looked for abundant life in places it doesn't exist, eventually realizing that we can't create an abundant life for ourselves. That instead, we live abundantly by acknowledging what God has placed into our lives in that present moment and knowing that He really is the source of our livelihood. And once I found these people, it's really transformed what being both Catholic and being in college means to me. And finally, living an abundant life is the sacraments. The intimacy that's offered to us through the Eucharist as Catholics is an invitation to abundant life that we really can't find anywhere else in this world. The acknowledgement of sorrow and sin in the confessional brings to us new life, and the sacrifice of the Holy Mass repeatedly brings hundreds of students together to move towards Christ with one another. So I'd like to thank you all for your generosity, which gives us college students so many chances and so many opportunities to strive towards this abundant life that God promises us. The fact that this Newman Center exists on this campus, and the fact that we have two incredibly holy priests that bring the sacraments to us on a daily basis, the fact that we have 10 focused missionaries that are so willing to walk with us every step towards heaven, just gives us a chance to strive for this abundant life that God desires for us. So thank you all so much. Know that you are the saints that are paving the pathway for all of the future saints to be formed. Thank you.